Hello friends, welcome back for another part of our run through the Frosty DLC where we are putting ourselves through some unnecessary challenges but having a lot of fun while doing it. We're at 100 duplicants, which was part of our requirements, and the only other thing that we need to do, as laid out by the rules here, is we need to get all of the achievements. And the one that we're going to be focusing on this time is a brand new one with this DLC. Let's take a look at it. So this is the full steam ahead. This says, discover the geothermal power plant buildings, which we've done. Reconnect the geothermal heat pump's plumbing. Okay. Pump liquids from the geothermal heat pump into the geo vents. And clear the blocked geovent to maximize the geothermal power plant's efficiency. So, I have not looked into this at all. I just kind of wanted to learn along with this with the video. So, let's click on this and see what it does and get a better idea of what we're supposed to be doing. Oh, here we go. Okay. So, we need to reconnect this building's steel plumbing system to restore function. Huh. Okay. So there should be some kind of plumbing overlay for this. No. I don't understand. Let's see. What's this? Oh, nothing. Reconnect it. Don't understand. So I guess, I mean, I pushed the button. I don't know what's supposed to happen here, but... Oh, we need to provide it steel. Okay, cool. So, let's get our steel rolling. We're filming very shortly after the last video that just got done. So, the steel is going to be on the way. We're doing both tungsten and steel over here, and really putting a lot of heat into these, and running our steam turbines so that we can get some energy off of it. So, we're going to need a little bit of time to create that steel. And since I want to stay primarily focused on that, I'll talk about anything else that comes up in the meantime, but that's going to be our main focus. The other things we should probably look at, I'm not going to do an achievement blitz quite yet and start knocking down all the easy ones. We'll get to that for sure. But there may be some progress we can make on these Critter Whisperer stuff here. So is there anything else? A Puffed is probably the only available thing that we have right now that we haven't tamed. Yeah. I also did mention that we might do some puff ranching up with this chlorine vent, but I don't think so. We have plenty of food right now, and we have the extra eggs coming in from the pips, so I might just check the box and get the puffed tamed. And there's some right here, so if I just create a grooming station, we can get this knocked off the list for us. But I'm just going to be waiting for our steel to come in so that we can get the rest of this hooked up, and I don't know what else we're going to have to do. The other things that we should probably do is get down to these ones. These are kind of down in really hot areas. And this is going to be part of the achievement, is kind of getting through this. So there's extremely hot stuff down here, and I think we might just be able to plow through it. My duplicants might get a little bit injured in their suits, but if we just kind of carve a path and dig our way down there, we'll see if we can get down there without taking too much damage. I don't want to be too scared of these because I don't think they're going to be that bad. We are technically going through like some almost magma area, so the stuff right next to this is in the thousands of degrees Celsius, but I don't think we should be that worried. So I'll just kind of build some ladders down here, and we will start drawing some access points into this. I want to also avoid all this oil, so I might need to reshape this a little bit. Maybe we'll have it all kind of pooled down here so that we can get around it. But if we kind of build a little chamber here in the middle, then maybe we could get around it that way. So yeah, let me get access to down here. Let me wait for the steel to be done. Then once we deliver some steel to this, we'll come back and we'll figure out what to do next. Yeah. Reconnect the plumbing. Huh. I guess just having it... Wait. So if oh, I think I canceled it. Okay. Yeah, once we get the steel, we will have it delivered there, and then we'll figure out what to do next. Okay. We have steel down here, so I will ask for a delivery. I can't set a priority on this, though, which is a little bit annoying. But The steel should be hanging out down here. It looks like someone just picked some of it up because we were at 2,900. Yep, there's Liera running over here. Come on, game. Still, I'm actually kind of impressed with the performance that we're getting out of this, so can't be too mad about it. There we go. So there should be a couple more deliveries coming. The only problem with our performance right now is how long it takes duplicants to do stuff, so somebody should come over and load this in just a bit. There's another, or maybe it's the same Liera. Okay, now it's pending reconnect, so let's see what needs to be done. I'm also a little bit nervous about these vents, because I'm guessing, like, vent implies that stuff is going to come out of it, so I don't know what's going to happen. Let's see what this says. Duplicants have restored the plumbing system for the geothermal heat pump. We can now use this building to pump liquids out to the connected geovents. Okay. Constructing steam turbines at the venting sites will enable us to convert the resulting steam into power. The vents also emit various byproducts. I'm sure I can find a use for them. Okay. So, we have to wait until... what do we need, actually? Liquid temperature is now negative 273.2. The initial input temperature determines the type of materials emitted. Okay, that's interesting. The vents themselves, we're going to need to rebuild around this a little bit and put some steam turbines up because I'm guessing a lot of steam is going to be coming out of this. So let's do this. We're going to need to probably wall all this off with some insulated tile. Our cooling is a little far away. Maybe we should make a cooling setup a little bit more on site. And since we actually have the materials for it, maybe I'll just create a small one right here and we can distribute it out to the different places it needs to go. Let me actually, yeah, we have a lot of space right here. Let's do it right here. We'll create a little cooling setup here and I'll dig down in there. There's also a polluted water vent here that we might be able to make use of. This is one of the best vents in the game, by the way, and considering how much comes out of it and the temperature that it comes out at, which is very reasonable. So we might put that to use. I don't know. Kind of thinking on my feet here. Let's get a cooling setup going, probably in this area, and let's get some steam turbines up here. But if I let this go, is it going to gradually heat up the liquid? Do I need to pump liquid into this? Yes. Okay, so I can pump it from 3 different things. Interesting. Okay, so we're going to have to find a way to create extremely hot liquid. We could probably do that with our cooling setup, with an aqua tuner or something like that. What's the max of our aqua tuner that we could go with the steel? So we could get it up to... what is this? The aqua tuner already has some on there. Let me just look at one of the aqua tuners that already exists and see what we could max that out at. This can go up to 325. Okay. So if we did that, we could try to maintain the steam inside there around 325. And then I guess... well, we could also put it here too, because if this is going to be covered in steam or constantly putting it out, we could put our aqua tuners here too. And kind of double up. Yeah, let's at least start working on some of this stuff. I need to pump all this stuff out of here too. It's going to take a little bit to get all this liquid out of the way. I don't know how many steam turbines this is going to be supporting, so I guess we'll start with like, I don't know, 3, I guess? We have plenty of supplies here. We probably need to send some plastic down. And the third one's going to go right here. Let me actually get my duplicants to build this layer of igneous rock off the top of here so that we can build whatever we want without being impeded by this. So I'll do a little bit of surgery to this stuff. Let me cancel these pipes. I don't really need these anymore. And we'll figure out a build that we want to do for getting something rolling in here. Actually, I probably want to pump this around. Maybe like that instead. Cancel. Deconstruct this. Deconstruct these 2 tiles so we can put some insulated tiles. I'm expecting all of this to be steam, so I'm guessing that's what's going to come out of here. So let's carve out some room. We will... do I want to keep this hot? I don't know what is going to come out of this, so I guess we should kind of be prepared for everything. I'm going to need a little bit more steel down here too. So let me flesh out the steam turbine setup a little bit. And we need a way to make extremely hot liquid, which we could probably use the petroleum, considering the petroleum's vaporization point is very high, 538. So we could pump in some petroleum in here and keep this extremely hot and only turn on our steam turbines if they're actually needed. Yeah, let's do something like that, and then see how hot we can get the liquid coming in here. We're probably going to get this area quite hot as well. So I don't know how much our cooling setup is going to need to be doing stuff. The cooling setup, we could probably just start setting up in area. This is all unused, by the way, so our cooling setup could just be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Could just be something like this, where we have a pool of a whole bunch of liquid. I don't know exactly where this is going to need to go, but we could pipe some ethanol down here, of which I'm pretty sure we are maxed. Yeah, we have all this cold ethanol already, so we could pump this ethanol down there that we've been using to grow a whole bunch of plume squash plants. So we could get this started. We have extra nectar, I think, as well. Let me look. Yeah, we have 2 tanks of nectar right now, so we could pump the nectar down. We could use that to superheat some petroleum inside here, and we could put a couple of aqua tuners. So maybe like this, I guess? Yeah. Okay, let's give our little basement dwellers down here some time to flesh all this out. And once this gets set up, it's funny, we're just like building a cooling setup around this vent, but I don't know exactly how all this is going to work. So yeah, let's go from there and let's see what we get. I need to reroute this piping again. Whoa, that was a terrible drawing of a line. There we go. So let's cancel this. Deconstruct these. Okay, yeah, let's give this build a try. Let's see how far we can get, and I'll start prepping all the lines to get the ethanol down here and get the nectar down here. We're going to set up something very similar to what we did before, but I don't think we'll need nearly as many metal tiles. The other good thing with this too is the fact that we're producing aluminum. Aluminum is one of the best for creating radiant pipes and exchanging temperature with stuff, so yeah, let's see what we get from this. And we will... Whoa, I don't want to continue to dig down here. Stop it. There, that's what I want. Are these guys stuck? Yeah, probably. Jeez, duplicates. These guys really like to test my patience. Alright, there's a bunch of mercury here now too. Oh. Okay, Camille, get out of there. There we go. Okay, yeah, let's flesh this out a little bit. I'll come back when this is a little bit more built and we'll see where to go from here. Okay, we're about ready to get started, but first I wanted to show this log that's from this computer right here. Basically what they're saying is that you're going to get some basic stuff. Run up the temperature in the water tank and run it through at 200 degrees. How exactly are we supposed to run water through at 200 degrees? Okay, whatever. So, basically they're saying you can put something in there, you'll get some boring stuff. Hotter things, you will get some interesting stuff. It looks like rust, looks like some oil, something like that. So we're just going to experiment and see what kind of things come out when we feed it in there. So the setup is looking pretty much done. And now that it's here, we can at least be ready for pretty much whatever's going to come out of here. So the geovent says it's disconnected, but I don't know. I mean, I guess we can hit reconnect. We'll have a duplicate come in here. I do have a double liquid lock to get back in here and maintain stuff because it'll be pretty much inevitable that we'll have to do that. But I have all means of handling whatever's going to come out of this. So if it's a gas, we have some steel gas pumps. If it's a liquid, we have a liquid pump. And if it's something solid, we have some auto sweepers in here. So whatever comes out of this, we should be able to handle it. But who knows? I don't know what's about to happen. So I also have a whole bunch of different liquids that we can feed into here. This has very cold nectar. This has some relatively cold ethanol. This has some regular water. And then once we get some heat from this, we can decide what to do next. I'll probably put some petroleum in here and then feed the petroleum in and see what happens. But the notes only mention water. And again, I know there's an exploit to get water in here at 200 degrees, but like, that doesn't make sense. Like, you're not, if you have water it's 200 degrees, that means it's supposed to be gassing off into steam. I don't think they expect you to use exploits to interact with this, but I don't know. We'll see. And also, maybe they wrote this in American and they mean Fahrenheit, which is like a little bit less than 100 C. So maybe that's what they meant, but I don't know. Let's try nectar first and see what it does. So I'll get this down here and we'll plug it in and see what happens. Also, there's 3 inputs. I'm not really sure why. So I'm just going to hook it up to 1. Maybe only one of those inputs can consume so fast, or maybe you can put it in a mix to get a different mixture of liquids. I don't know. Depending on what kind of results you get. Yeah, so we will hook this up and see what happens. This cooling setup and everything is very standard, very similar to what we just did. So nothing too wild going on here for sure. The nectar that's going to be connected to this, I'm not sure how exactly cold we want to make this. Because we really just need to cool down our steam turbines right now. Still getting everything's filled up, so it's going to take a little bit for everything to be fully operational, but I wanted to send in some of the liquids that we already had to see what happens. Probably also should have built this pipe a little bit in advance, so I didn't need to buy time waiting for this to be constructed, but, you know, that's what you get sometimes. And, of course, the game is going to slow down and make it harder for us. The other concern that I have, by the way, is our food's starting to drop a bit. It's only dropping because some of the boost that we were getting is from all these extra pike apples. And I did pull some of them up for just a bit, just to see if we could survive without them, since other production methods have kicked up. But we're going to have to find a way to rebalance this, because we are running at a phosphorite deficit, so we can't have that lasting like that forever. Okay, so let's start sending some stuff in. Oh, I need a way to push this out of the... This is also one of the weirdest things, like, you need a way to push stuff through these reservoirs, and as soon as I hook up even something that's not built yet, it's like, oh I can push stuff out of here. So, I don't know, that's kind of weird. Let's see what this nectar does. And we haven't gotten to the other geothermal pumps yet, because I just want to mess around with one before we get there. Looks like they got to this one just fine, and without anybody getting burnt, so that's good. The other one will be accessed soon. I guess I should probably rebuild this so they actually can. There we go. Alright, so we've got some liquid flowing into here. Let's see what happens. Super cold nectar. And I guess it probably needs to be entirely filled up. Yeah, so we're getting some pressure behind it. I don't know at what pressure this eventually erupts. Let's see. Geovents must finish their current mission before accepting new materials. Okay. I also wonder if it's going to return whatever you would have put in terms of, like, if I'm putting nectar in, if we boil nectar, it's going to return something back that we can expect. So I wonder if that's what happens, but I don't know. Let's see. So yeah, it returns some steam and sucrose. So I guess if sucrose comes out of here because we're feeding in nectar, then we'll know what it's doing. I guess that's one way to get sucrose if you wanted to not have to build a big setup for it. What's our pressure at? 7%? Okay, well, we're going to just give this a little bit of time to build up all the pressure, and then as soon as an eruption happens, I'll come back and edit the next part on, so we don't have to sit here and wait for that long. Okay, here we go. We're getting closer, almost at 100%. We'll see what happens when we get there. By the way, I have drained all of my nectar, so the contents of this, if it still matters, is like maybe 90% nectar and the rest is very cold ethanol. I just want to see what happens when you pass in a super low temperature liquid, if you get anything different than at different... I mean, it's obviously inferring that you will, but I want to see what comes out of each one. So we're going to try one as cold as possible and see what comes out of our vent first. This will likely not be worthwhile, especially if it, like, deletes the liquid and turns it into something else. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens when we get up to 100% here. So, just about there. Okay, we're at 100%. Okay, there we go. So, looks like we can, I think, hit the button and something will happen. So, let's do it. Okay, some salt, igneous rock, obsidian, looks like boring stuff came out. It also looks like all of our nectar is coming back out. And it's coming back out at a really high temperature. Oh no. Now we're getting a whole bunch of ethanol gas coming out too, which is really not very useful. So I guess it does matter what you actually put in there. So I don't... Yeah, let's stop putting ethanol in here because I don't have a good use for really hot ethanol gas. So yeah, let me disconnect all this stuff and we'll stop sending ethanol in. But this is kind of interesting because what comes out is obviously a superheated version of what you put in. So this ethanol gas is going to be blocking... I don't know why this is on so slow. All right, this ethanol gas is going to be blocking our steam turbines for right now. But in the meantime, I also did fill this up with really hot petroleum. So I guess the byproduct of what we get is dependent on the temperature, but the material that comes back out is also very hot. So this could very well be like a really cheap petroleum boiler, basically. In the sense that you could pass in oil, I guess, hopefully, at a high enough temperature, and it would boil it and turn it back into petroleum for you and spit it back out. At least assuming that it comes out at a 1-to-1 rate. But I'm curious with the petroleum how hot that we could get this. I guess the max that we could do for the petroleum is the... Well, I guess it'd come out and wreck all of our aqua tuners. Maybe that's not the greatest... Well, at least maybe it's not the greatest idea to have the aqua tuners sitting inside here. If it were not any of this stuff and the rest of the equipment could... yeah, I don't know. There probably is a better way to do this. I'm trying to think about this now. Also, one other thing that I kind of intuited is there's 3 inputs on this, which I think means that it should match the number of actual vents that you have. So if you're just running a loop of water, you could probably use that to have the outputs of your steam turbines go right back into this, and then cycle it back and forth so you don't need to manage any other liquid. This bottom area is almost done being filled up, by the way, which we can probably just put the rest of our ethanol in here. Yeah, let's do that. There we go. So we know what comes out with a super low temperature. This is a bunch of boring stuff. Salt, granite, and also barely any of it. Dirt, obsidian. It's like it's kicking up the sediment from the bottom of like a water heater tank or something. I'm going to need to perform a little bit of surgery on this and get all this ethanol gas out of here. I don't know what I'm really going to do with it. I guess I could probably recondense it by building a room that's like adjacent to this. So we made a mess. We definitely made a big mess here. But I'm curious now for more than one reason. Let me pass in something else and we will see what happens when we spit it back out. When this is done venting, what we could do is we can disconnect it so that this vent is no longer erupting and we can fix this up. Then we could let one of the other ones erupt, and depending on what it is, we might get some free... Oh, great. He's asleep and suffocating. This is great. How are we going to get him out of here? Probably building the way down is the best, so let's do this. Jorge, why did you do this? This is a terrible place to sleep. We also probably need to change his schedule to wake him up so he actually does stuff. Jeez. These duplicants really make it hard on themselves. Although it's kind of my fault for mining out such a big spot all at once. This can definitely happen. So let's build these 2. They're on very high priority. Let's change Jorge's schedule here, which is going to be an interesting adventure. Here's our work emergency schedule. Also, +2 break time morale for no... Wait, what? Downtime morale is +1 here. Break time morale is +2, but I have no breaks. Okay, whatever. So, wake up and build yourself out of this. Come on. Let me cancel all these other tasks so he's not tempted to do anything else. Come on, wake up. And I'm going to be toggling the pause on and off so I give him enough time to decide to do something. There might be somebody that's running here right now ready to bring this up. So I'm going to cancel those and I will redo it. Going to run a little mini course on how to get these duplicants out of here. So I basically want Jorge to pick this option. And I think we're just going to need 2 ladders to get him out. And anytime he freezes like this, it means that he's either deciding what to do or he's calculating a route. And because I have so many duplicants, it takes him a little while to get back into like a usable state. So now that should be usable again, let's do this. And the reason that they do this and have these long hitches... Oh, he can get out. Okay, never mind. The reason they have these long hitches is so that they don't have the game basically hitching every single time a duplicant needs to do something. They kind of time box with the duplicants. Like, when the duplicants are making a decision, they'll time box that to make sure that they're only doing that so much per frame so the game can continue to run, even if a duplicant is stuck trying to calculate what they should be doing. Okay, anyway, like I was saying, what we could do is have the next eruption take place down here, and we could handle that a little bit different. The only thing that makes me a little bit nervous about that is there's so much hot stuff around here, and it's going to take me a little while to, like, rebuild everything. I also don't know if I'm going to want, like, a cooling setup, or I don't know. We kind of need to decide what we want to do with this, because we could use it for just power, which will be fine. But I think it'd be interesting to use it as a petroleum boiler, because a lot of people seem to be into that kind of stuff, even though we're not really at a shortage of petroleum. But I'm trying to think, what else could we put in here that would be interesting to turn into something else? The sucrose, or rather the nectar, is a super bad trade. The nectar is very valuable. This was really not worth doing it with nectar. But what else could we do? I guess we could boil, like, the salt water or something. That'd be a good way to remove the salt. Yeah, or we could, like, boil our polluted water to get an easy filtration method out of it. The saltwater boiling is actually really good, because what we're doing with this right now is we have to cool it down quite a bit before it is able to be sent through anything that can be running our water network, so we don't heat everything up too much. But what I wonder is how much different is salt water in terms of heat capacity than regular water? Okay, it's actually worse. Guess it's still not that much of a deterrent, but that's not a great effect. Yeah, let's... How am I going to do this? Because I wonder how much it heats it up each time. So let's do another experiment this next time. Let's do an experiment where we just pump oil into it, and then we see what comes out. I don't know how much energy actually gets put in here. It looks like our nectar... It's hard to tell because it's getting mixed with all this petroleum that was already in here, which is pretty hot. But let's run an experiment where we pass oil into this. I'll build a little chamber down here to let the oil kind of drain out. And we'll see what happens. This abyssalite actually is at a pretty low temperature, so I think this should be doable. Let's do our relative temperature. Let's get fancy here. Okay, so average is like 87. So all these are cold enough to the point that it shouldn't boil the oil right away. So let's do that. Let me reconnect this, and I'll disconnect this one. At least once it's safe to go in there. I need to do a lot of cleanup effort on this. And let's send oil in there and see what happens next. And the oil is already... Some of this is pretty hot, so I will intentionally take some of the really hot oil, and we'll send it in there and see what happens. Yeah, and I guess see what comes out. We'll try a couple more things before we call it good for this video, but this is going to mostly be an experimentation and kind of learning about this, so let me get this all cleaned up and we'll come back. Okay, here's a really simple gas condenser setup. I'm not talking about this in too much detail because we're going to talk about it a lot more when we start condensing hydrogen and oxygen and stuff like that. This one's actually probably a little more complicated now that I'm looking at it, but the idea here is we have a whole bunch of gas in here that we don't want. All this ethanol gas, I want to condense it back down into regular ethanol, and then I'm going to send this regular ethanol into all these liquid reservoirs and use it as like our coolant for other stuff. So the setup that I have here is assuming that stuff will condense in here. It'll be flowing through these pipes, and if it's not ethanol, I'm going to send it up into my water network because there's probably a little bit of steam in here. Here's some right here. So there will be a little bit of water we'll get out of this. I don't know if that would normally have come out even if we didn't send in the nectar and ethanol. Probably, but I don't know. So we'll see. I mean, we just need to get this up and running. So I just have a whole bunch of metal tiles, temp shift plates, all that fun stuff. It's just next door neighbors to this very cold pool of ethanol. And again, this pool is very cold because we ran our nectar that's in these two reservoirs through our aqua tuners, cooling all this stuff down so that we could, I don't want relative, I want absolute. cooling all this stuff down so that we can cool whatever we want out of here. So we're going to take some extremely hot gas from here, kind of send it in here via high pressure gas vent, and it should just condense down over time. So let me turn these two on, flip those switches. There we go. They'll start sending everything down, and it should condense pretty quickly. There's a lot of energy bordering all this, and it being aluminum ought to help as well. So there we go, and then I'll just have a thermosensor to make sure that what we're pumping out isn't too hot. It's actually like instantly freezing the ice. That's pretty funny. So there you go. Pretty simple gas condenser just to help clean this up. So the rest of what I'm going to do is I'll probably get the nectar back out of here, and I also have a line that's ran through the middle of this. Right here, this pipe that runs to help cool down whatever we have inside here. So what I'm going to do for the rest of this is... Actually, we could probably just do it now. I'm just going to pump it out, whatever it is. I don't really want this petroleum in here anymore because we're going to be sending in oil to this anyway. And the oil that's coming out is going to be from this pocket that's already pretty warm, 114. I think the petroleum I had in here was at like 130. So I don't think there's going to be that much of a difference, to be honest. But I don't know. We'll see. So we got our condenser running. Let's get this going. So I'm just going to separate what comes out of here based upon whether it's petroleum or not. Because the only two things should be petroleum and nectar. There shouldn't be any other liquids. If it is petroleum, I'm just going to send it down and have it be stored. So I add a few more tanks down here and we can use it up later. If it's nectar, I'll run it through all of this. That should cool it down to a reasonable point. Although, I'm just going to be turning this into plastic anyway. Do I really need to do this? Yeah, probably not. What's funny, though, is that this can also be made from plastic, or this can also be turned into plastic. So I guess both of these could just go straight into a plastic machine. I don't know. Let's just do that. That'll make it easier. So let's see. Refinement, polymer press. There we go. This will get very hot. I'll clean this up and we'll have a better cooling setup going here for it. I guess I should do it the right way. How many spaces does this take up? I think it's 3. Yeah, I'll kind of toss it down here and we'll add a cooling setup just to make sure this doesn't heat everything up too badly. Or at least bordering all this stuff. Doesn't need to be too fancy, but all this stuff we can just run straight into our polymer press to get rid of it. I guess, now I think it should probably go down here. Yeah, let's put it down here, because if it produces any extra heat or anything like that, it's already very hot down here anyway, and I don't really care, so that ought to do it. Alright, so whatever we pump out of there is just going to go straight into here, but we can send it into these tanks first, and then into our polymer press. There we go. Alright. I can get all of the plumbing and stuff up in the meantime. No real reason to sit here and watch me connect pipes. It's not too interesting for very long. But once this gets all filled up, we will have it erupt. I'll connect this one that's down here, and we'll see how much of it actually comes out, because we'll get an idea of what the temperature is of the oil that we sent in the first place. Does this actually tell us what's in here? No. That's kind of annoying. Okay. So, once we get all the liquid in here from the oil, we'll fire this back up and see if we can get it into petroleum. Okay, just about filled up on our oil, and we will see how this goes. Not exactly sure how high this is gonna, or how hot this is gonna come out. I don't think it's gonna be hot enough to turn it into petroleum, and I've got some more thoughts on that after we've kind of sat here and looked at this and thought about it for a while. This temperature gauge, I don't know if it's supposed to animate up or not, but it looks like almost the same as it was when we pumped in the very cold liquid, so I don't know what to make of that. I'm just going to dump it off in here, only because the area down here, if I were to let it loose, it would cause more problems than it's worth. So I'm going to turn this into a steam area, and I think we're just going to set this up to generate power for us. If we really needed to boil any oil or anything like that, it's so much easier just to use all this stuff right here. And the basics of it are, you can do something really similar to what we do with our sleet wheat. So let me show you our sleet wheat setup again, where the sleet wheat basically asks for things to get colder by closing these airlocks. So if this is ever above like -5, these will close and they'll exchange their temperature with all these tiles. It's basically the exact opposite for any oil. If you ever want to boil that and turn it into petroleum, which is probably way more petroleum than you'd ever need, depending on if you really want to run a base with like tons of petroleum generators, which, I mean, you don't necessarily need to, but you can if you want to. But if you want to boil that, you could do the same idea with this and set up some mechanized airlocks, kind of like this, and then have your oil on top of it via some metal tiles. So then you can open and shut this depending on if you need heat or not to boil the petroleum. And you could do something very similar. It's probably a little bit easier to do it that way anyway, because the problem with petroleum is once it's turned into petroleum, you have to then cool it back down so your steel pump can actually handle the temperature. The steel pump can only go up to about 275, so we'll see what comes out of this when it's time. We need to reconnect this vent. What I'm going to do in the meantime, one of our other parts of this achievement is we need to clear the blocked geovent. Let's get this going once they allow this to erupt. I'm going to stop sending oil in because I don't think we really want that anymore, I guess. Might still get one tile of it. Plus there'll be a little bit that comes out depending on the temperature. So let's see what we actually get when it comes out of here. Yeah, like I thought, it's not hot enough. So sitting up at about... it's getting a little bit warmer. What just came out? Dirt, obsidian. Yeah, nothing wild coming out of here. Here's some rust. I guess that's okay, but it's really not that much. I'm still going to be condensing any gases that come down here, so these gases are just going to be condensed down in here. Yeah, I don't know. Not the greatest, honestly. This is still going to be erupting all this crude oil, but in order to help clear this other blocked vent, you basically have to put some liquid in here that is hot enough to melt lead. And lead melts at 327. So considering this is going to be one of the easiest ways to do this, honestly, but I could do the exact same thing we were just talking about, dump a bunch of oil in here, connect it up with some metal tiles here on the bottom or on the sides or whatever we do, and absorb the heat from all this stuff down here. So we'll clear this with probably the oil that we're going to be pumping out with this round. And then the rest of the vents, I'm just going to set up to accept water, and we'll just send water in from now on. So this area down here is just going to be filled with water, carbon dioxide. I got my double liquid lock here. So yeah, we're just going to cycle some water through here and get a decent amount of power. We'll run 3 turbines on each of them for right now. But yeah, I don't know how practical this is for boiling oil. I guess it would work, but I think for the most part it's really just meant to cycle the water back and forth. So I'll kind of set up how I would do a real thing. Once this is done erupting, we'll get down in here. I'll build a setup to create some, I guess, boil some petroleum. We're going to do it here anyway. So we will do that, and I will deconstruct this stuff. I'll put up a setup that's very similar to our sleet wheat that does the same thing. And this eventually should melt all this stuff that's blocking it and get up there at the high enough temperature. And then when it is, we will then need to cool it down, clear it out, and replace it with another one of these types of setups. So I'll do the first step of that before we start pumping oil in. So this will be ready to go in just a bit. All right, here's about what I expected for each of these little vents to be covered by. Just a few steam turbines that are probably going to be running nonstop. The water that they pump out is just going to be going straight back into the geothermal heat pump. So it'll just create a nice cycle here of constantly sending through steam. The oil that's in here we will eventually pump out and send over to the other place. But this is kind of what I had imagined. Oh, I need to turn this off. It's constantly pumping out water. I don't want to do that. So there we go. That is all up and running. I figured I would do a little bit of a progress update for the other ones too. For each of these, I'm going to be vacuuming out all of the interior. So this one's getting kind of close. Not too close, but also not too far either. So kind of the same setup, 3 turbines over top of a vent. We'll see what comes out specifically because there won't be any oil or anything at the bottom of this. And I guess we can add all the same type of machinery inside here, like the auto sweepers and that kind of stuff to get the materials out. But I don't know how valuable these materials really are, so maybe I'll wait until we get those eruptions at the higher temperatures of water. So we will, yeah, we'll kind of see what it looks like when we get there. And the average temperature of water that's coming in here should sit around 95, because that's about where it comes out from the steam turbine itself. So yeah, just going to create 2 more of these. We're getting some sour gas here. That's not what I wanted. Oh well, it's not really hurting anything, I guess. It's because there's this petrified fossil here that is moltenifying all this petroleum, turning it into sour gas. Probably not going to do much with it because we have plenty of power as is, so I'm not really all that worried. You can create some pretty wild and powerful setups with that, but I don't really have a reason to have that much power demand. I'm actually kind of curious because I thought all the heat had been taken out of this already. What is nearby that would have been causing this? Oh, I guess there's still a few tiles right here that are pretty hot. Yeah, I guess that'd probably do it. Okay. So, once we get this area all done, which we're getting pretty close, I just need to vacuum the rest of it out. We'll start pouring oil in, and we'll get our setup running for boiling our oil into petroleum. So I just need to get these last few pieces of ladder, done, and then they'll be able to climb down. We'll clean all this stuff out. There's a whole bunch of really hot material here. I'll build out the rest of this. We'll pour the oil in, and we will convert that into petroleum by these doors. I just have everything on manual switches, by the way, so I can just open and close it myself. Since this is only a temporary setup, I'm not looking to make this too fancy, but it's also to demonstrate that if you are not the greatest at automation and constantly, or you're like getting confused by things or having bugs in your system or whatever, you can always just control things manually if you want to. Like if you know that you want to open and close certain doors, it does leave you vulnerable to something running longer than you expect, but I mean, if it's something simple, then there's no reason why you couldn't just do this instead of automating it if you're having trouble with it. So, yeah. Anyway, almost ready for this. We'll get the rest of this vacuumed out, and we'll get the setup up and running in a second. Okay. Here we go with our caveman-esque petroleum boiler, just so that we can unblock our geovent here. We need to get everything up to about 300 and something degrees, like 320, I think. But we should be able to get there just fine. So the way this is going to work is we have a room that's encased in metal tiles with a pump behind a door that I have closed off for right now, because if it's way too hot, it's going to hurt this pump. So this is encased in metal tiles. At the bottom, we have a whole bunch of open mechanized airlocks touching some very hot stuff. So very hot obsidian and igneous rock and that kind of stuff. And we also, at the top, have some open mechanized airlocks that are going to be touching a pool full of steam. So this is going to be how we're going to cool this down so we can actually pump it all back out again. And this is going to be how we heat it up. And this is the caveman version because we have no complicated automation. I'm just going to do it myself by flipping a switch. So let's go ahead and do that. And it'll take a little bit for this to heat up, but you can already see it changing here. So let me time-lapse this, and as soon as it's ready to start boiling into petroleum, we'll come back and we'll see how this gets unblocked. Okay, we're fast approaching the boiling point of lead, which should be at about 327.5. I don't know if we need to submerge the entire thing, but the bottom is obviously a little bit warmer than the top, so hopefully once we start crossing into that threshold, this will open up. I don't really know what to expect here, so we'll give it a few more degrees and see what happens. And we'll kind of keep an eye on it, so yeah, I don't know what's going to happen here, so I guess I'll just keep it on until it happens. Okay, I think if it was going to happen at this volume, it would have happened by now. Let's see what this says. The temperature of this is only still 20 degrees, so I guess we might need to fill this all the way up to the top. So let me pump in some more oil and go with that. I just need to hook up this power, and it should turn right back on. So I'll fill this up to the top to get the oil entirely up here, and we'll continue heating this because it won't turn into petroleum until about 399. So I'll get that reconnected, and we will see... Do I actually have iron? Yeah, okay. So we'll see what happens once we fill this up more, and when it starts to actually unblock this. We might need to fill this up all the way. So if we do, that's fine, but it's just going to take us a little bit to get all the extra oil in here. Okay, our tiles of crude oil are about to expand to fill up the entire thing. The top level should be covered in petroleum by the time this happens, but I don't think I have enough petroleum to necessarily block the vent. So I do wonder if I'm supposed to, like, make sure that it's entirely blocked by it, or what exactly needs to happen here, because the petroleum is plenty warm enough to melt lead. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop stop the oil from coming in and let this heat up a little bit more. Let's cut it off here and let the rest drain. So I think if we do this, I'm going to continue to heat this until this turns into petroleum, and either when this all turns into petroleum and unblocks this, or at the point where it just melts anyway, then we'll come back and we'll call it good. So I think I'll just kind of let it chill and continue to time-lapse until one of those two things happens. So I'll just kind of be here waiting. Okay, looks like we're getting some transition going on here, and what I'm hoping is a lot of times when this transitions, it'll mess with the pressure to a point that, like, you'll start breaking tiles and get some weird stuff happening. So I'm hoping that the pressure will be high enough up here so that we don't need to send in some more oil, but we might still need to do that. So let's see if this actually unblocks it now that the reaction is happening in quite a large amount. So... come on. I'm just waiting for it to occupy this tile, so it kind of just needs to mix around a little bit and get everything all boiled. It might need a little bit more time to get all the way up here to boil this crude oil, but eventually this should happen, so I'll just kind of chill and let this time lapse a little longer until something else happens. Yeah. So like I expected, the tiles are starting to get damaged here. We'll have to probably open this up and do some repairs. I feel like this should have already melted this by now, but it's only not because the vent isn't blocked. And it's because this one tile of petroleum is sitting right here at a pressure that's lower than would normally block this. So that's annoying. It's probably going to take a little bit for this all to resolve itself. Maybe I can get some duplicants in here to start fixing this. So let's see, how are we going to do this? Wonder if... I don't want to spill any of this out, ideally, but I guess if we do, that's not the worst. I can just mop it up afterwards. I don't want to spill any of the water, so let's do this first. Let's start alleviating some of the pressure here at the top. And then maybe we could get down, and I also wondered if we could actually have a duplicant get all the way down there and start building some tiles at the bottom to help fill this up more and get this all the way blocked off. This is not as elegant as I expected it to be, but, you know, that's just how the game goes sometimes. You get this little tile of petroleum that's messing around with you while you're trying to make this, you know, nice little graceful setup. Here comes a couple of duplicants to help us out. By the way, the only reason that this really works this way is because this whole thing is a vacuum. So that's a very important part of this that should really be noted. Let me see. Let's see how far we can get in here. And hopefully once we alleviate the pressure, it might spill over a little bit. That's fine. We can go back in here and clean this up afterwards. We could actually have some duplicants come in here. Oh, now we're getting sour gas because it's too hot. Well, this isn't going well. So we'll just continue to, I guess, remove tiles and remove doors. This is also starting to boil the water up here, which is not what I wanted yet. Lots of petroleum getting released. I wonder if I release this tile, if it'll do it. Because I'm theorizing that it needs to be like pressure blocked, but it's not. There's not enough material right here for it to be pressure blocked. There we go. Okay, so this is what I expected, or at least what I was hoping for. It's definitely well above the liquid. Blocked geovents can be cleared using liquids that are hot enough to melt lead. You know what I wonder is, I wonder if we're supposed to send it into the vent first, because maybe that's what we're supposed to do. Hang on. Can I reconnect this? No. Well, this isn't giving me very much information to work with here, but this is definitely hot enough to melt lead. Is it changing the temperature of this at all? No. Then I guess... yeah, I guess we just need to feed in extremely hot liquid into the actual machine. This is just about to tick over, so let me provide this with just a little bit more water, and then we'll get this to tick over so it's back at 0, and then I will send all this stuff back through the vent, because if it's supposed to be submerged in it, that's about as good as we can get. If not, then we might need to do some silly stuff with this pump. I don't know how hot it's going to pump it back out, but we might just need to let this pump take damage and just pump it in there as hot as it can possibly get. This is a really not an ideal way to do this, as this build is really going sideways now. So let me get this opened up. And let me also get all this pipe built so that we have this just being pumped straight into there. I don't know if this is going to be enough, but it'll be interesting to find out. How much more water do we need, and where can we grab it from? I guess we could get it from here. Okay, so let me do this. Let me flush the system out right now. It's at 99%, which is really annoying that it won't actually erupt the rest of the way. Let me get this water captured here, and let's get the liquid, or the super hot liquid pumped in there. I guess I'll just, like, brute force it with this steel and just pump in all this, like, 380 degree material and see if that does it, because this is most definitely not doing it, but this liquid is plenty hot enough to melt this lead. So, geez, what a mess. Okay, let me also close this off, because we don't really want that heat anymore. Okay, so I'll be busy fixing this up a little bit, and we'll see what we can do to get this opened up. Okay, getting the last little bits of this in here to flush it out, so that's what it looks like when it actually does the thing. I have it venting down to just one of these, so this should have a whole bunch of random stuff mixed in here. A little bit of oil, a little bit of water, a little bit of petroleum. So this is going to be accepting that burst of liquid that was not what we wanted in here. Now our liquid temperature is sitting at 328 and rising, so this should be, I guess, enough to, like, blow this open. I'm guessing what's going to happen here is once we get the pressure all the way up to 100 and it's filled with the super hot liquid. By the way, what I'm going to do with this to prevent duplicants from coming down here and fixing this all the time is I'm going to wait until this is close to being destroyed, and I will let my duplicant come back in here and repair this. This is just going to be constantly taking damage, but I'll let them repair it once it gets close to not operational anymore. So we'll spend a little bit of steel to keep this running, basically. Kind of brute force our way through it. But the idea here is, I guess, to have enough pressure in there to just kind of blow this open and blow the lid off. I guess it's what you're supposed to do, because I can't tell it, like, which place to go to. I've already disconnected one. I'm going to disconnect the other so that we're only venting to this place when it actually does happen. So yeah, I guess we'll see what happens here. You know, I actually guess I could vent it here, but I'll keep it, like, disconnected so that the only thing that is connected is the blocked one. And I don't know if that's exactly how you make it work or what's going to happen here, but Yeah, we'll kind of let this run for a little while to get it all the way filled back up. And I'll just micromanage this a little bit to have duplicants come in here and repair every once in a while when it starts getting low on health. And keep that thing rolling. So this will be a little interesting. We'll see what happens when we get there. Okay, here we go. Almost at 100% with an average temperature of about 329. I have no idea what's about to happen, so we'll see if it makes a big mess over there or what exactly happens. No geovents connected, but it does have attention required. All right, let's click on it. Yeah, I'm trying to clear the blocked one. How I do this? Okay. Still says it's blocked. Yeah. It will become usable once the obstruction has been cleared by piping in liquids hot enough to melt it. Well, I think that's what I'm doing now. Alright, let me open the other one and let's see what happens. Let's get a duplicant down here. I guess this is the tax of learning all this stuff. I'm going to deconstruct this pump now since we don't really need it. Yeah, alright. Who's going to rescue us here? Who are you? Otto? Otto's really coming through. Doesn't turn. Yep, okay. There we go. I guess it did something. My duplicants have successfully cleared the obstructed geovent. We can now maximize the full potential of this formidable heat and power source and perhaps experiment with input temperatures to produce more interesting secondary byproducts. Okay, well, they kept a trophy. Cool. Alright, so they... okay, well, that was kind of what I was expecting, is a bunch of stuff blowing up. But we did get an imperative achieved, so I guess this is, like, probably going to be one of those cutscene-y things. So if you don't want to see it, then I guess look away. This will be the first time I've seen it, too, so maybe I'll look away also. Yeah, that's what I was expecting. And that's exactly what I was expecting, too. A bunch of stuff shooting out of it. Though the journey has been long and marked by challenges that often seemed insurmountable, there was a lot of duplicants peeing their pants at one point, let me tell you, that felt insurmountable. We have prevailed in harnessing this planet's core's potential. Planet's core potential. Okay, whatever. We now stand proudly at the precipice of a sustainably powered future. It is deeply humbling. I am hopeful that we have learned enough to wield this machinery more wisely than those who came before us. Classic. Yeah! Alright, finally got that one done, which is the special achievement for this DLC. I'm also curious what kind of damage is being done by these things flying out of here. Oh, I guess it stopped. What got shot out of here, by the way? Coprolite. Oh, that's probably the trophy. Okay, it looks like it shot out some lead. There's some tungsten here. That was probably from me. Yeah, I'm also kind of curious what happens, because the temperature gauge here seems like it did move when I sent something in that was 300 degrees. So maybe at the very end, we'll send in some, like, lava or something and see what this does. What got melted, by the way? Oh, I think a wire did. Okay, well, we made a huge mess. But everything looks like it's back up and running like we expect it to. So let's get this hooked back up to our water sources. And we can reconnect these two so that they start sending out... Is this still... No, I need to actually reconnect it now. Okay, that's weird. Now I need to disconnect this because I don't really want any more of this stuff coming out. Anyway... that being said, we have all this done. We'll clean this up a little bit later. We kind of got what we wanted out of this by completing the achievement, so I'll just kind of keep this running as a power source, because we're going to need that for our later stages of the run anyway. So, yeah. By the way, what does this log entry say? Glitch. Lots of words. But, yeah, I don't know what to make of this. This looks like... basically the story of the... I don't know. It has something to do with the Thermal pump. All right, anyway, so that's, I think, going to be the end of this video. The next one, I've been getting some comments requesting to do a little bit of a recap as far as where we stand, so I think I'm going to do something like that for just a bit in the next video. But in the next video, we're probably also going to start teching up into rockets, because that's kind of the next thing we need to get going, so that we can start getting some of this later game stuff, and we may do a couple of achievements there. I'm not 100% sure yet, but we at least accomplished what we were looking for here, and now our loop is back in terms of getting everything back to normal with our geothermal pump. So thank you very much for watching. Sorry that was a little bit of a rocky adventure, but that's what learning looks like sometimes. Okay, I'll see you here for the next episode in the next couple days, hopefully.